Guys, like some other countries around the world, if the social safety net isn't strong enough, people will have to rely on food banks. Sometimes governments will assist the charities providing them instead of actually providing citizens with sufficient support. Yes, it's a weird way of doing things. But even food banks along with schools are now facing the wrath of Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Here Brooke Rollins, the US Agriculture Secretary, tried to defend the cuts in support by blaming the left, then speaking about trans people before finishing with, well, it wasn't necessary to spend this money on schools and food banks. What the heck?
There's another thing here, right up your alley. USDA cancels $1 billion in local food purchasing for schools and food banks. How do you justify that?
Well, listen, I think it's really important. And of course, the left is doing what the left does. These were COVID.
Sorry. What the hell has the left got to do with your decision to cut support for schools and food banks? Really, I don't understand why she started talking about the left here. You are making a decision. You are deciding what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut $1 billion in support for the poorest people in society. And your automatic response when asked about this on a right-wing TV show is the left. Well, honestly, I don't understand why she's attacking the left here. She's asked a simple question. You have decided to cut $1 billion in support for children going to school who are hungry and people who can't afford to buy food. And your response is, yes, but the left always do this. The left always do what?
COVID-era programs. These were additional funds, and then under Biden, more and more money. So just yesterday, we're canceling more contracts on food justice for trans people in New York and San Francisco.
So what has that got to do with what you're talking about here? You're asked a simple question. What's your take on cutting $1 billion for food banks and schools? And why the hell are you talking about trans people here? Stick to the bloody point.
Obviously, that's different than the food programs in the schools, but
then why the heck did you bring it up? Why are you talking about something that's completely irrelevant? What is wrong with these people? Why are you interviewing somebody who doesn't understand what the hell they're talking about? Like, the very first thing she did was attack people who have no control over the policy. And now she's attacking trans people, even though it's irrelevant to the actual discussion.
It is really important. We spend billions and billions and billions of dollars on nutrition programs for lower income and socioeconomically disadvantaged kids. But the Biden administration used that to often push money out, taxpayer dollars out, that is not reaching its intended target. So that new program that came in the last few years, again, trying to spend more and more money, we're pulling that back.
So it's terrible. We're actually spending money on people who can't afford to buy food. We're spending money on children who are going to school hungry. This is a terrible thing. Can you imagine how terrible it is that we're actually spending money, more money, because obviously the situation is getting more and more difficult for people, with inflation and all of these things. It's getting more difficult to get a job. It's more difficult to get a good paying job. It's difficult to make ends meet. And your response is, this is terrible that we're actually giving people money. I'm going to get to who this individual is in just a moment.
As we have always said, if we are making mistakes, we will own those mistakes and we will
No, if you make a mistake, resign. That's what you should be doing. If you make a mistake that's impacting people's lives, you should go on TV, apologize, and resign. But what you're doing instead is you're pushing through policies and hoping that people don't notice. Or even worse, that people, when they do notice, they blame somebody else. They blame trans people or immigrants or the left or whoever, or Joe Biden. Let's blame Joe Biden over this. This is absolutely ridiculous. Now, as I said, this individual, she used to be the head of a right-wing think tank, a Texas-based right-wing think tank. And this right-wing think tank has been instrumental in a project called Project 2025. Donald Trump distanced himself in the run-up to the election. Now it seems to be fully on board this idea of this Project 2025. One aspect of it is about reducing corporation tax, reducing capital gains tax. So this is about taking money out of the pockets of American people and giving it to the richest in society. And what is she talking about here? Well, we need to cut money for schools and for food banks because it's a waste. But at the same time, what we want to do is we want to reduce corporation tax and capital gains tax in order to benefit the richest people in society. The wrong people are in charge. Now, the sad reality is some of the poorest people in society in the US voted for Donald Trump. In red states, in Republican states, which receive huge amounts of federal funding because their politicians couldn't give a crap about, taxing the richest in society. So they're going to struggle even more. They're going to be worse off because of Donald Trump. And these are the same people who were convinced to vote for Donald Trump because he'd do something about the border or something like that. Or because they're, people coming into the country and they're living off the state. We need to cut benefits or entitlements for everyone in order to punish a small section of society, even though in reality you're not really punishing them. And at the same time, we need to cut taxes for the richest in society because they need a tax cut. If you're taking money, if you're giving money to one group of people who don't need it, obviously you're taking it from somebody else. And these people were clear before the election. What we want is a small government. We want to reduce taxes for the richest in society. We need to cut welfare and programs like Medicaid and stuff like that because it's too expensive. We're hearing exactly the same sort of crap over in Europe, in the UK as well. There are so many people on benefits, or there are people gaming the system. We need to punish everyone who's claiming an entitlement in order to deal with a very, very small minority. That's the sad reality. And while in Europe and the UK there is still somewhat of a safety net, the Republicans and Donald Trump want to completely destroy it. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.